Turkey has its own security concerns and saying that Israeli actions are destabilizing Syria. So do you see a real risk of direct confrontation between Turkey and Israel in Syria?
I think what I want to make it very clear that the Israelis' action in Syria should not be first presented or identified within the perspective of the Turkish security concerns. Mm-hmm. It is violating a nation-state called Syria, territorial integrity and sovereignty, and it's occupying it. It's a major national security threat for Syria. And just like it is a national security threat for Lebanon and West Bank, the Gaza. So therefore, I think all the Arab countries, the Muslim countries, the regional countries, the Europeans, everybody else should come together and confront this policy, because nobody would like to see additional renewed influx of refugees coming out of Syria. Everybody is enjoying stability and security in Syria. Mm-hmm. So Syria used to be the place of civil war, a cradle for terrorism, mm-hmm. and a threat to all the neighboring countries. Now, alhamdulillah, it's all gone. Now Syria is a stable country, posing no threat to anybody, mm-hmm. and all the refugees are coming back mm-hmm. From different countries, including from Turkey, and this is a big success.
We're going to do whatever is necessary, and as soon as this war is over, which will not be long, you're going to see oil prices drop, and you're going to see a stock market, which is already at the highest point in history, go through the roof. You're going to see the golden age of America, frankly, and you're seeing it now. So as soon as this is done, don't forget, you have hundreds of ships that are loaded up with oil that want to come out. As soon as they come out, we're going to have a gusher of oil.
Mr. President, you promised to bring inflation down. It's now at its highest level in 3 years. Are your policies not working? What's happening?
Policies are working incredibly. If you go back to just before the war, for the last 3 months, inflation was at 1.7%. Now, we had a choice. Let these lunatics have a nuclear weapon. If you want to do that, then you're a stupid person, and you happen to be. I mean, I know you very well. Anybody that wants them to have a nuclear weapon is a stupid person. Are you listening to me? Every American understands, and they just had a poll, like 85%, which is surprising. It's only that they understand that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. If Iran has a nuclear weapon, the whole world would be in trouble because they happen to be crazy. They're not going to have a nuclear weapon. Now, if the stock market goes up or down a little bit, the American people understand it. When it's over, you're going to have a massive drop in the price of oil, which a lot of people thought would be higher. And I mean, it was $100, it was $90.
I believe in vaccines, but I don't believe that, you have to have a mandate for all of them. The polio vaccine's amazing. It's, wiped it out. And I believe in vaccines, but, I think we were up to 88 vaccines. And I really feel that vaccines, if they were given in smaller quantities, they want to cut some out, and that's good too. And I agree with that. 82 is too many. If you look at Denmark and other countries, you have 12, 14, I think 17. And we have like 82. But I look at these beautiful little babies, and they get a vat, so like a big glass of stuff pumped into their bodies. And I think it's a very negative thing to do. And I would like to see it. I'm not doing this in terms of Bobby or not. I hope they agree with that, but that's just my opinion. I would love to see much smaller shots, like 4 visits to the doctor. And I think you would have a much better result with the autism.
Et plus largement, entre l'Afrique et le reste du monde. L'Afrique est un immense continent. Vous en avez rappelé, Président, les chiffres tout à l'heure. Ça fait 10 ans, et pour certains qui sont là, ça fait parfois 20 ans, 25 ans, qu'on entend beaucoup de gens venir ici nous dire « Ah, l'Afrique, ne les oubliez pas, c'est un continent en devenir. » Non, c'est un continent qui est là et bien là. C'est le continent le plus jeune du monde. C'est le continent à la plus forte croissance du monde. Donc c'est un continent qui fait que quiconque l'ignore aujourd'hui se trompe et renonce à son propre avenir. L'Afrique est là, présente, forte, et tous ceux qui ne font pas leur travail avec le continent africain, tous ceux qui viennent continuer d'en prélever les ressources pour les valoriser ailleurs, d'en négliger les situations de déséquilibre ou de détresse, tout cela obère simplement leur propre avenir.
So I just want to, Pakistan. Are you aware of reports that Pakistan are allowing their bases to be used to park Iranian aircraft? General Kane?
Sir, I've seen one report on that.
Well, is it accurate?
Sir, I think based on the variety of classification matters.
Let me just say, do you agree if it is accurate, that is sort of inconsistent with it being a peace mediator?
Sir, I wouldn't want to comment on that based on the ongoing negotiations and Pakistan's role.
Secretary Hexton, if the mediator is allowing reconnaissance aircraft of Iran to be parked in Pakistani air bases, do you think that's consistent with being a fair mediator?
I wouldn't want to get in the middle of these negotiations.
Yeah.
I want
well, I
maximum
do.
efficacy
I
for
want
our
to get in
people.
the middle of these negotiations. I don't trust Pakistan as far as I can throw them. If they actually do have Iranian aircraft parked in Pakistan bases to protect Iranian military assets, that tells me we should be looking maybe for somebody else to mediate. No wonder this damn thing is going nowhere.
Welcome back to the SCIF. I want to apologize. Yesterday, we didn't have time to put a show up. It was a hellish travel day. We were notified some days ago that they wanted us in Hawaii for the Department of War to report on the LANPAC Symposium and Exhibition, which is all the allied armies in the Pacific coming together to discuss interoperability and a lot of other things. And we had some really great interviews already. Today, I sat down with General Ronald Clark, who is the commander of the U.S. Army in the Pacific. Really good conversation. We put an article up on armedforces.press. You can see that there. And anyway, we're going to be doing more reporting this week, so stand by for that. I want to say hello to the crew in the chat. Thanks for coming back after we ghosted you yesterday, but we're back in the saddle. And check out whatfinger.com, a great aggregator site. So that is always somewhere we want you to go after you check out cdm.press 3 times a day and check on some articles as well, please. That is really what we need is traffic. We are growing rapidly. You're going to see a lot more coming from CDM, but let's do the mission brief. Today is May 12th. I'm your host, Todd Wood. This is your mission brief. Iran gamesmanship continues. I want to dig into that a little later in the show when we get to the story section, because that is continuing and you need to know the latest. Hall of records under the Sphinx, ancient records that may be under the Sphinx, according to CIA emails that were, or actually files that were leaked, not leaked, but released recently. So that is causing quite a stir. I sit down with General Ronald Clark, the Army commander in the Pacific. You can find that on armedforces.press. More hantavirus hysteria. Pandemic 2.0 looks like is coming down the pike. We'll give you the latest. And Connecticut is cheating in elections big time, big time. So thank you for joining us today. We'll be right back on the SCIF. Stay with us after this break, and we'll get into some stories, some of the Army specific stuff in the Pacific, but also Pete Blaber will be with us later in the show for our Ukraine SitRep. Really good one this time, so stay with us. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Every day, your data is being tracked, collected, and sold. often without you even realizing it. Big tech companies control your devices, your apps, and the information you share. From your messages to your browsing habits, everything is being monitored and stored. Over time, we've traded privacy for convenience, and most people don't even question it. But what if you could take that control back? That's where Mark 37 comes in. Mark 37 provides privacy-focused phones, laptops, and tablets designed to give you full control over your digital life. With secure systems, expert support, and simple tools, they make it easier to step away from constant tracking and data collection. Because privacy isn't just a feature, it's a fundamental choice. It's about protecting your data, your freedom, and your future. Take back control of your digital life with Mark 37.
The pandemic, we can never be caught unprepared again. And so many Americans, when COVID hit, they had nothing in the house. Stores were shut down, and doctors' offices were shut down, and even if doctors prescribed drugs, hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, pharmacists wouldn't fill the prescriptions. That was a nightmare.
Now the situation is much worse. We have these horrible supply chain problems. In our emergency medical kit at the Wellness Company, we have 8 prescription drugs that are all potentially life-saving.
Most people who died with COVID, they died in the hospital because they didn't receive early treatment.
Every American family should have one of these.
I can tell you the Wellness Company kit is the answer.
With my 35 years of experience, our team at U.S. Asset Management can deliver professional investment management, financial planning to help you target your goals, and even specialized divorce financial analysis if you need it. We are here to help you make better decisions with your money. Call U.S. Asset Management today, and let's get to work in your financial future.
Welcome back to the SCIF. I forgot to mention that we are pre-taping this for Wednesday morning. It's 6 hours earlier than Eastern here in Honolulu, and really hard to do the show live. So this is a pre-tape Tuesday night, and we'll be doing the same thing the rest of the week. So if the show looks a little, I guess, pre-planned, that's because it is. But thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. Let's talk about some stories. So this one is really important. Convicted U.S. AI scientist defects to help Beijing beat the West. This guy was fired from Harvard, disgraced, and surprise, surprise, he shows up in Beijing working for the Chinese to perfect their AI systems. So this is really disturbing, actually. We've got a real problem in our universities. This one is on cdm.press. You can find it there, so please check that out. This one is on our paper, the Connecticut Sentinel, connecticutsentinel.com, spelled with a C, the old revolutionary way. Really impactful paper in Connecticut. But the Connecticut Democrats are cheating big time in the election. They're passing elections. They're passing law after law to formalize bad behavior. And this is Republican Senator Ron Sampson, who we know well, talking about the laws just passed to expand mail-in voting across Connecticut. This needs really a federal response, and we hope that President Trump will continue to lay down the law regarding the elections in November, because we are really, our future is on the line here. And we need clean elections to get back our republic. It's as simple as that. So go to Connecticut Sentinel. You can find this story. Another one you really need to know about, the media is spreading hantavirus hysteria. There's over 100,000 articles came out at once around the world on this cruise ship hantavirus attack. It sounds really similar to what happened during COVID. There's a lot of misinformation going on about this virus. How dangerous is it? Is it not? What can we do about it? What doesn't work? We're going to be reporting on that extensively over the next few weeks, because we think this is going to grow. And from what we know now, it's not, ivermectin is not effective against it. It's more deadly, but it's harder to transmit. But it's been gain of function engineered, maybe even in Ukraine, to basically make it more easier for human-to-human transmission. We don't know that for sure. We're going to continue to dig into this story and tell you everything we know as we know it. I don't think this one is going away for a while. On armedforces.press, you can find my interview with General Ronald Clark. Actually, not an interview, but a sit down with him with a few other reporters, man to man, face to face. Got to ask him some good questions, and he put out some good answers. I'm going to give him some creds here and some props. His answers were really straight up. I found him honest and informative, and I asked him some stuff that is difficult, and he responded in a really good way. So check that out. We'll talk more later in the show about Army Pacific and what's going on in theater with the land forces. That's why we're here. But this interview with General Clark was pretty good. Okay, CIA documents spark wild theories of ancient knowledge under the Sphinx. The old legends of the Hall of Records, where ancient knowledge was stored in the past, are resurfacing because a file in the 1950s said that pictures showed the Hall of Records under the Sphinx. We don't know if that's true. Nobody knows, or somebody may know, but they're not telling. But this is causing wild rumors. And this is a string of stuff that's come out on the pyramids. If you remember, a few months back, there was a story about chambers under the Sphinx of some kind of radio transmission tower or something that we don't know. But you can find this article on CDM. It's really interesting. And we may travel to Egypt and try to do some direct reporting on this, because we like stories like this that we can dig into and figure out what's going on. And last but not least, I wanted to update you on the Iran situation. You can go to cdm.press. This article is up in the headline right now. Iran specifies 5 demands to start peace talks with the U.S. I mean, we essentially have a pissing contest going on here between the U.S. and Iran. Pete Blaber and I discussed it at length later in the show. But the situation is, I guess, fluid. It's a negotiation going on. It's the art of the deal. Both sides have the cards to play, and they're playing them. Iran is still surviving and still has assets. It still has capability. That's obvious. And Trump is getting frustrated. So we will see what happens, but stay with us on this story. All right, we're going to come back in a bit. We've got Pete Blaber coming up in the second part of the show. We're going to do Ukraine SitRep, which was really informative as well. So stand by for that. But I've got some remarks by General Clark, who I mentioned earlier at the LANPAC Summit, and also a few of the other generals to talk about what's going on in the Pacific. I thought there were comments spoke for themselves. So we're going to play some of that and then go to Ukraine SitRep. So stay with us. We'll be right back on the SCIF.
Every day, your data is being tracked, collected, and sold, often without you even realizing it. Big tech companies control your devices, your apps, and the information you share. From your messages to your browsing habits, everything is being monitored and stored. Over time, we've traded privacy for convenience, and most people don't even question it. But what if you could take that control back? That's where Mark 37 comes in. Mark 37 provides privacy-focused phones, laptops, and tablets designed to give you full control over your digital life. With secure systems, expert support, and simple tools, they make it easier to step away from constant tracking and data collection. Because privacy isn't just a feature, it's a fundamental choice. It's about protecting your data, your freedom, and your future. Take back control of your digital life with Mark 37.
A warm welcome here at the National Press Club. Welcome to the journalists, welcome to the Embraer team, and welcome to the other guests that we have here. I'm going to announce, and as some of you guessed it right when they came in, the first E2 order by an American operator. And that operator is Avello. We believe this is really a strategic shift to unlock profitability for the customer. I'm very pleased that we have Andrew Levy here as the CEO of Avello, and I'm very pleased to give the stage to share a little bit more about what Avello is going to do with the E2 195. Thank you very much.
Couldn't be more excited to be here as part of this historic announcement. We have such a great cultural fit as companies, so we're very, very excited to be Embraer's newest customer. We launched our airline in April of 21, and our target is focusing on small secondary airports of large metro areas. We've carried over 8 million customers since we started on 63,000 flights. And we've done all these things with 1,200 of the greatest crew members I could ever imagine having, and many of them are here with me today. This is the right airplane for us. It's going to open up opportunities for us that no other aircraft can serve. The best thing about the airplane, of course, is you will not find a middle seat on this airplane. It doesn't exist. We won't have any to offer. It's going to be the best cabin in the United States, and we're so excited about that. This is going to elevate our experience to the highest level, and we think our customers are absolutely going to love the airplane.
Your government doesn't care about you. That's why you need a medical emergency kit. It contains life-saving medications like ivermectin, Z-Pak, and antibiotics. Stock them before they block them.
I'm here today to engage this vital cross-section of government, military, and industry leadership on a reality we cannot afford to ignore. We often discuss strategy in abstracts, but we must be clear-eyed. Strategic concepts only survive as long as they are backed by industrial endurance. It's one thing to have the will to fight. It's quite another to have the industrial capacity to sustain the fight across the vast reaches of the Indo-Pacific. This intersection of readiness and industrial might is where our strategy meets the reality of the 21st century battlefield. The 2026 National Defense Strategy provides us with two clear lines of effort. One, supercharging the defense industrial base. And two, increasing burden sharing. And at first glance, these might seem like separate tasks, one for the factory floor and the other for the diplomatic table. But for land power, they are the same mission. We're the ones who manage the enterprise-level systems that keep the joint force fueled, armed, and operational. In this theater, sustainment is not the tail, it's the teeth. It's the teeth of our deterrence. Today, I want to discuss how we are connecting these lines of effort through a regional industrial architecture, which we have termed in Korea a fortress chain. It's where allies, partners, and industrial efforts shape the collective security of all our nations throughout the Indo-Pacific. First, we must address what we're doing at home with our domestic industry partners. The NDS centers on deterrence by denial. This requires more than just the weapons we have today. It requires the industrial capacity to regenerate those weapons tomorrow. We are moving from an era of exquisite scarcity to an era of industrial scale mass. The battlefield has become a live lab, as we've seen in Ukraine. The traditional models of slow-moving procurement, years of requirements followed by decades of fielding, are being shredded. Innovation is now measured in weeks and not years. This is a true revolution in military affairs. We are moving toward software-defined warfare where the code in a drone is as critical as the explosives in a warhead. The math of modern conflict is changing. In the Middle East, we see the limit of exquisite defense, using a multi-million-dollar interceptor to down a drone that costs less than a used car. That's a losing proposition. We cannot allow our adversaries to bankrupt our shield through simple fiscal asymmetry. That cost exchange ratio is a strategic vulnerability. We can no longer ignore it. To our U.S. industry partners, we need a radical commoditization of quick, easy, cheap kill. We need thousands of attritable, low-cost, unmanned systems and hypersonic weapons produced at speed of relevance. We must bridge the gap between the lab and the foxhole. We can no longer wait for the perfect 10-year solution when the threat evolves and is countered in a matter of days. We must prioritize the mass production of affordable, precise capabilities and ensure our data systems are interoperable from the factory all the way to the edge. Our adversaries are adapting quickly, but they will be stifled by our industrial resolve and overmatched by our capacity to innovate. However, here in the Indo-Pacific, a robust domestic base is a hollow shell if we cannot project that power across the tyranny of distance. We cannot win if our supply lines are 5,000 miles long. And this is where burden sharing moves from a diplomatic concept to a physical reality. At USFK, we're advancing a regional sustainment architecture I call the Foundry. The objective is simple. We must industrialize the edge. We cannot shuttle broken equipment across an ocean for repair while an adversary evolves on our doorstep. The tyranny of distance is a strategic tax we'll no longer pay. On the peninsula, we're already fixing forward and improving the concept. Korean dry docks have successfully overhauled the USNS Wally Schirra and Cesar Chavez, with 2 more ships already in the queue. This is the operational blueprint for the fortress chain. By leveraging special repair authority and weaponizing advanced manufacturing from 3D printing to local parts sourcing, we're transforming our theater footprint into a permanent deterrent. We're wiring the world-class infrastructure of our partners directly into our operational architecture, ensuring that our sustainment nodes are as lethal as our combat units. This isn't just cooperation. It's a strategic synchronization. A cord of many strands is not easily broken. And by weaving our industrial bases together, we become an unshakable force. And finally, we must address what our allies must do for themselves. The America First approach is not America alone. It's an America supported by a network of highly capable allies, and no one understands that more than those in this room. We'll share the weight of collective defense. In this new era, partnership is no longer defined by what we say, it'll be defined by what we build. The Republic of Korea is setting the pace by committing to a 3.5% global spending standard. Our Korean partners are proving themselves a resilient ally, and that's the best insurance against a common adversary. This isn't just about a number on a ledger. It's about military industrial autonomy. It's about building a self-reliant defense base that can stand on its own feet while contributing to the region as a whole. We're challenging our allies to meet this new global standard. And let me be absolutely clear. A strong ally is not a consumer of security. They're a producer of security. We're moving to an era where partners don't just buy our platforms. They must possess the sovereign capacity to sustain, repair, and evolve them. And they've got to be able to do that within their own borders. That's the true measure of a resilient alliance. Back at my command on the Korean Peninsula, our presence provides a permanent platform, an anchor on the Asian mainland that an adversary simply cannot solve. Our permanence is a strategic reality that complicates every calculation that our adversaries make. USFK's mission is to deter aggression and, if necessary, defend the Republic of Korea. But in the modern era, deterrence is as much about the factory floor as it is the foxhole. We are the vital fulcrum of Asia, and we are modernizing and industrializing that position every day to ensure it remains unassailable. Partners, allies, and leaders of industry, we must move with the speed of survival, not the speed of bureaucracy. Our adversaries have already taught us a hard lesson. Innovation does not wait for a budget cycle. They've demonstrated with chilling clarity that creative low-cost adaptation can outpace massive defense spending. In this new era, agility, and not just mass, is the difference maker. We cannot afford to be an exquisite force that is too expensive to use and too slow to adapt. Our fortress chain must be a living, breathing, and synchronized engine capable of outpacing any adversary. Together we demonstrate that strength paired with collective readiness is the ultimate guardian of peace. A true fortress for all our nations and interest here in the Indo-Pacific. I thank you for your time and attention, and I look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Nuclear wasn't a product that was developed and to sell, really. What it really was a journey to get me well after my experience trying to immigrate and get married to an American citizen in order to get my green card. Towards the end, they send you for a medical, and that's where they sat me down and gave me 16 vaccines in one sitting. At the time, I knew when I was going through it that it's probably not good, but I didn't realize that I'm about to go through the worst health experience of my life. And that's when I went on this journey and understand that nutrition is actually your medicine. I've always heard the old people say your food's in your garden, but we didn't get it. And your body is always trying to heal itself. I mean, you know, when you cut yourself in a couple of days, it heals. And that is the process of homeostasis. Your body is always every cell in your body is always healing itself. And just like anything, if you bake a cake or you build a house, you need the right ingredients to achieve the result. Now, if you don't have the correct nutrition and you're not eating the correct food, it's like trying to build a house without bricks. Now, a lot of people, they say, what does nuclear do? Nuclear itself does nothing. It's not designed to do anything. Your body does the work. It gives your body all the things it needs balanced in, and it works together to deliver the correct nutritional supplement that you need as a human being to function normally.
It's finally here, our second annual mega sale. This sale only comes around once a year, so take advantage of the best offers ever while you can. For example, save 50% on our Giza Dream bed sheets, as low as $29.98. And for the first time ever on TV, MyPillow mattresses and MyPillow mattress toppers, as low as $99.98. And you save 50% on our Lux Pure 6-piece towel sets. Regular $69.98, now only $39.98. And our best-selling standard MyPillows, regular $49.98, on sale for $17.98. Wait on it, mega sale, only $14.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. But wait, there's more. To make the mega sale even more special, when you order right now, your order's going to ship absolutely free. Welcome back to Ukraine SitRep. I'm here at the LANPAC conference in Honolulu, Hawaii, where we are meeting with all the representatives of local militaries in the Pacific. I just sat down with the commander of U.S. Army forces in the Pacific, General Ronald Clark, and that was a great discussion. We'll put that on Armed Forces Press a little later today. But we're with Pete Blaber, of course, who is the star of the show. And Pete, you've got a lot to talk about, so tell me where we are in the Ukraine war, and let's just get rolling.
Yeah. So, I mean, both the Iran and Ukraine. So we're at day 71 of Iran hostilities and year 4 of the Ukraine war. And I thought it'd be a good time to take a look at the media coverage of both, and specifically what we've learned about reliability and validity of our news sources and how we can better understand as individuals what's actually happening. And I know from a lot of our viewers, people appreciate the alternate source, to a place they can go to find out what is really going on. So, we're all bombarded with news about all the above: Iran, Ukraine, the hantavirus, the economy, illegal immigration. And if at times you feel like it's stressing you out, you're not alone. And what I wanted to do is up front provide a few things to remember about the human brain and how it handles all this negative propaganda, because it's revealing for understanding what the global mainstream media and what the political pundits are trying to do with their coverage. And the key is that to understand our brains are not wired for happiness or contentment. They're biologically hardwired to keep us alive and survive. And this is a critical distinction to understand. To ensure we survive, our brains default to fear, anxiety, and cortisol-powered stress. And the reason for this is that our species, the Homo sapiens species, has spent 99.9% of our evolutionary time trying to dodge saber-toothed tigers and unpredictable weather. And thus the default to stress, fear. If you hear a noise, that's a saber-toothed tiger. That's why our brain is hardwired that way. Thus, the result in modern times is that our brains dwell on the negative and dismiss the positive as simple trivialities. And that's because, like I said, our brains are hardwired to worry and manufacture cortisol. That's the stress hormone that does so much damage to our heart and our health. And its main symptoms, again, are anxiety and fear. Just as with anything in the human evolution, nature found a solution about 50,000 years ago. We developed this massive neocortex. That's the wrinkly part on the top of your brain. And the power of the neocortex is it gives you a choice. It gives you options. So our emotions ride herd over our brains until we engage our thinking brain and think about the emotions. So it's as easy as taking a couple of long, slow, deep breaths, which is called diaphragmatic breathing. You can also smile or talk calmly and focus on the positives in life. And always remember to yourself that you control your mind, not the other way around. And that's an important distinction, too, when it comes to being psychologically manipulated. You can rewire your brain, and the process is not complicated. It's called learning. It's called learning information, knowledge. That's how you rewire your brain. The cells in our brain are called neurons, and they have little spindly branches that go off and connect with other neurons, and those connections strengthen, weaken over time. So you can change your brain. It's changing right now as you're listening to this conversation, and the process is called neuroplasticity. So the global mainstream media and the social media companies all understand this, all these brain facts, which is why all of them have the highest paid behavioral psychologists on their payrolls, because what they do is implement this fear-based propaganda in the news. Get your attention.
So do our intelligence agencies, right?
Very good point. And we're going to have an example of that coming up here, because fear is the most potent emotion for manipulating human behavior. You can get someone to do anything. If you're trying to manipulate them, fear is the go-to weapon. Thus, the big takeaway there is just remember their purpose. The global mainstream media and these social media companies is not to help you. It's to stress you out and divide us as a population, as a species, and control us while they continue to hold on to power and take away our freedoms. So, just to sum that up, it's not a conspiracy theory. Everyone who's listening to this has lived through the most insane, what someone would have thought were conspiracy theories of the last 100 years. Russian collusion, the mercenary riots under the name of BLM, the scamdemic, the fake vaccine, and the 2020 election they were created for to manipulate. And then we went on, saw the disastrous abandonment of Afghanistan, and of course, the start and perpetuation of the Ukraine war. These are all massive propaganda promoted lies. And that's what the mainstream media has been doing to us. So it's so important to be consciously aware of that. And the reason is this: if we can't learn from the past and present, then we can't adapt to future contingencies. And if we can't adapt, we're going to go the way of 99.999% of all species who ever lived on this planet, and that's extinction. We have to be able to learn to adapt. And it doesn't matter whether your politics are left, right, center, or anywhere in between. The evolutionary crime of political partisanship, propaganda, and fake news is that they impede instead of enable our freedom to learn from, adapt to, and make sense of what's happening in the world around us and sensible choices about what to do next. So let's give some examples of just how bad it's gotten. And we have a study that was just released, and it just shows how lopsided the network news coverage is. And as an example, 2 weeks ago, the longest shutdown in U.S. history came to an end. It was the coverage of it was daily, and it was national. We heard about it all the time, and only 5% of that coverage placed the blame or even implied that the Democratic Party had anything to do with it. And of course, they had everything to do with it. They're the ones who wouldn't approve the budget because of ICE / now called NICE and DHS, and they were throwing a temper tantrum over it. The other 95% of the time was just propaganda saying that the GOP was the cause of the shutdown. And of course, this focused exclusively on ABC, NBC, and CBS, the U.S. National TV news. But again, in 76 days, only 21 days was the word Democrat or Democratic Party even mentioned in the coverage. It was covered every day for 76 days, but they went to such extremes to blame it on the Republicans that they didn't even mention the Democrats having any part of it, which of course they did. So, why was that wrong? Well, let's just talk about the core of the shutdown, the argument, which was immigration enforcement. The Republicans wanted to follow the law, which is what everyone should be reminded of, what the media should be reminding of us, is that we have laws that were passed by Democrats and Republicans in Congress. And those laws say that you cannot be in this country illegally. We have a process, an immigration process you have to go through, and that you cannot commit crimes, whether those are federal or local. So NICE was out there rounding up people who were both in the country illegally and who had committed crimes. You can't criticize that. It's like criticizing a cop for arresting a murderer. That's the law. That's what we've told them to do. That's how we've set up our country. That's how civil societies sustain themselves. But let's look at how they handle some of these international issues. And the first one is the recent reporting on the hantavirus. And again, a media expert, I think, Todd, you have something on this, named Pierre Corey.
Yeah, and let me interject. I know Pierre Corey extremely well. He actually treated my son who had a vaccine injury. So
wow. I'm
very, very, he is, I'll just put it out there. He is probably the best physician out there on the bioweapon pandemics we've been seeing, who told the truth early, was fired out of a hospital, started his own practice. So I'll just give him a plug. If you have a vaccine injured and you need somebody who knows what they're talking about and won't give you a bunch of spin, go to Dr. Pierre Corey. So I'm ready with that when you are.
Wow. No, that's awesome. You can put it up. And, Dr. Corey brought to our attention that a media study showed that within 3 days of the hantavirus outbreak on the cruise ship, 100,000 separate articles were published globally about the hantavirus over that period of just 3 days. And the massive coordination, they all shared common ground in their structure and their messaging. They all used just what we've been talking about, fear. Most of them mentioned masks. And of course, you have to ask yourself, why is this minor cruise ship outbreak consuming the global media cycle? How could 100,000 articles be published?
At CDM, we've become very good at spotting these narratives because it is following a pattern. You get a Hollywood celebrity involvement, you get the mass media, and then it's just put in front of you. It's created in like a second, and all of a sudden it's an issue in the news. So this is a video. Do you want me to go ahead and play this with Dr. Corey?
Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
What actually kind of intrigued me more, Talia, about what you said is a colleague told me that there was like 100,000 articles written around the world on hantavirus in the last couple of days. And that's not typical for a hantavirus outbreak. Certainly there's always attention and people get scared, but like that's the other thing with COVID. It was COVID 24/7. And then when you said in your intro about how it seems to be driven by influencers, I'm sorry if I'm getting too like, I don't know. I actually never want to use the word tin hat because I'm not a tin hat, but these patterns are anomalous. Why with just this little outbreak of a few cases, suddenly like it's consuming the world's media cycle?
Back to you. Yeah.
Yeah. So, his other thing, he brought up COVID, is a great comparison because remember in COVID, all the initial reporting was fear-based instead of fact-based. We never heard that there were 32 other COVID viruses out there, strains of the COVID virus. We never heard all the research that it was just another version of SARS-2 and that they had already discovered that SARS-2 could both be prevented and cured by hydroxychloroquine. They wouldn't tell you any of that. They hid that from you. And so that's what's happened here too with the hantavirus. My young son came to me, which he rarely does, and he said, "Dad, do you know anything about the hantavirus?" Because he had seen something on TikTok or whatever that scared him enough to come ask me. So let's go back to that. What should they be doing? Well, they should be sharing fact-based information that can actually help people. And that's what I want to do right now. The hantavirus is not typically contagious between humans. It's incredibly rare to be for human contagion to occur, except in one strain, the Andes strain, which is the Andes Mountain in South America. And even those person-to-person transmissions are extremely rare. So how do you catch it? It primarily spreads through contact with rodent waste, which includes urine, droppings, and saliva. So if you've ever gone into your attic crawl space or in your basement and found, rat or mice turds, if you stepped on those and they were already dried, then the dust, that's how you aerosol them, and then you aerosolize them, then you kick that around. You could breathe that in and potentially, if these were infected rodents, catch the hantavirus. That's how you catch it, which also brings up, if you ever do go into your attic or basement and find rat or mouse turds all over, that's the one time that the N95 mask actually is a good use. Throw that thing on, don't inhale the particles. As far as human to human transmission, I go back to the Andes virus. This is the only strain of hantavirus known to have ever had human to human virus. And again, I mentioned they're extremely rare. Patient number 1 on the cruise ship was a Dutch bird watcher who had just visited one of Argentina's largest garbage dumps. And patient number 2 was his wife. And that makes sense because the type of contact required to pass it requires intimacy. It basically requires sex, a sexual relationship. And I don't know how the third person got it or what relationship that third person had to the two of them or what kind of cruise this was.
A hantavirus love triangle there.
Yes, they're not talking about it, but I suspect there's some debauchery there. So the bottom line is the vast majority of hantaviruses, including the U.S. strain, which is called Sin Nombre, without a name, do not spread from person to person. So wouldn't that have been nice for them to include in every report on it instead of creating this, hey, we might have to go to mass. California, Newsom mentioned it. We might have to go to mass again. So again, the fear-based manipulation is still with us, just like it's been for the past 10 years. So now let's look at some of the coverage of Iran and Ukraine. And the first thing I want to look at is this CNN report that basically came out last week and said the majority of all bases, U.S. bases in the Middle East, have been completely destroyed or are uninhabitable. And the fact
I have that video when you're ready.
Yeah, go ahead. Play that video.
After weeks of Iranian missile and drone strikes, this U.S. military base in the Gulf is transformed. This is Camp Buehring in Kuwait, a vast desert hub for American forces, home to thousands of troops and even karaoke nights. It's one of many U.S. military facilities in the oil-rich Arabian Peninsula targeted by Iran, even as the U.S. and Israel pummeled its large arsenal. So just how hard has America's footprint in the Middle East been hit?
A CNN investigation found evidence of unprecedented destruction. We can reveal that strikes damaged at least 16 U.S. installations across 8 countries. According to our analysis and sourcing, that's the majority of American military positions in the region, and some of them are virtually unusable now.
Iran's targets? Multi-million-dollar aircraft like this, Boeing E-3 Century, which gave the U.S. a huge amount of visibility over the Gulf. It's out of production, and in today's money, it's worth nearly $500 million. Also, critical communications equipment, and crucially, radar systems, highly sophisticated, expensive, difficult to replace, and central to air defense. And experts say the war has created a dilemma. Is America's presence in the Gulf making the region safer, or is it becoming its Achilles heel?
So CNN citing their own anonymous sources and their own investigation. And of course, you heard her say the bases are uninhabitable, except for karaoke. You can still sing karaoke in the chow hall. Unfortunately for them, and there's an article coming out on it, I have a good friend who lives over there permanently. I won't tell you the base country, but his contract is security assessments of all Middle Eastern bases, and he's been to every single one of those. He sent me that report, been to every single one of them. You can't even tell they were damaged. The initial damage was tents, a radar facility that, they've been talking about that one radar facility since the first days. That was hit. It's already been replaced into hardened site. It was operational within a couple of days of being hit in the initial drone attacks. But the 16 base thing is just a complete made up number. And again, you heard her say it. She cites their own investigation and their own anonymous sources. So, you have this, I think, unprecedented in modern time. You have another crazy example of Trump derangement syndrome. The U.S. media, the U.S. mainstream media and Democratic Party are actively working to support the propaganda of Iran and to create propaganda that Iran can use and give them hope to keep the war going. I'm sure in hopes of keeping it going until the midterms. So,
well, they also don't want any kind of exit or solution to the problem. So
right,
and they want failure essentially.
Yeah, And I mean, there's all kinds of things they could say about those bases. Do I think we need 16 bases in the Middle East? No. And, you know, one or two maybe. But, you know, I think most of those are leftovers from the Iraq war. And they just can't bring themselves to leave them. But they weren't destroyed. They're not vulnerable. Most of them are tents. There's not a lot of hardware at them. They did get that one airplane, but that too was a mistake. It was left out in the open.
And just to interject, we've been very vocal about that before the war, during the war, and still about the exposure. We have to harden our protection of high-value targets like E3s or F-35s or whatever on the ramp. That has to be done. We have to protect those aircraft against low-cost drones. I mean, it's just, and maybe they're doing that. And I've been hard on the Department of Defense. In fact, even pushed the Air Force to issue a statement on how they're doing that. So that's a thing, but that doesn't mean the whole Middle East is a failure. It's two different things.
Yep. And things like that. Everyone who studies military history knows that Department of War, Department of Defense, specifically the upper echelon, we have to be kicked in the teeth or punched in the nose before we wake up and go, oh, this is a real threat. And this was just one more example of that.
True.
Todd brought up already the deep state, and the deep state last week leaked a supposed CIA assessment of Iran's strength. That too has turned out to be completely false. All of it. You can see now, because Trump sued successfully a couple of these media organizations, you can see how they're now using softer words so they can't be implicated in false reporting. But this confidential CIA analysis is just like what CNN did. It's another thing that all it can do is encourage Iran, because it says they have many more missiles, many more drones than we initially assessed, and that they can keep going for 3 to 4 months, which, you know, of course they can keep going for 3 to 4 months. They can do anything. Desperate men make desperate moves, but will they survive the 3 to 4 months? That's another question. So it's coming from all sides. And so finally, let's just go down, talk a little bit about what they should be reporting on Iran. And I think you have an article, Todd, on the 2 individuals who were executed. Yeah. So, you know, 2 more outstanding Iranian citizens executed, and their crimes will make you shake your head in disbelief that anyone would support this regime. The older fellow, who's 40 years old, father of 2, he was arrested for using Starlink to access the internet, and he's a businessman. He owns a couple businesses. He's got international clients, an international supply chain. So you could see why he would need to access Starlink, but he was caught. And from what we know, he was tortured first and then beaten to death for the crime of using Starlink. And some people don't know this, but since the beginning of hostilities, 70 some days ago, Iran shut down all internet access to its citizens. So just like we were talking about, we were talking earlier about, you know, what's happened in Ukraine as far as media, it's the same thing in Iran. They have no voice. They have nothing to listen to. They have no way of understanding what's really happening in the world. And the only type of governments that do that are ones who are afraid of the truth and what the truth will do.
Of course.
The other victim, I think it's worthwhile to say his name. Sasan Hunkani was 20-year-old karate champion. And his crime, which was called a violation of national security, his crime was cooperation with the enemy. But what did he do? He participated in the protests we showed on our last episode back in January. He was caught. One of the people tackled and taken into custody. He was kept in custody and then hung until he died for the crime of, again, cooperating with the enemy.
And the lesson is, Pete, is people need to understand how brutal this regime is to its own citizens.
Yes.
I mean, it has no problem executing thousands of young kids. It has no problem taking the water from an entire community to fund to run a factory owned by the IRGC. I mean,
right.
that's just, it's a brutal, brutal, brutal regime. If you're not in the oligarchy, you're screwed, essentially.
Yeah,
So,
you're not in the theocracy,
yeah.
which, is the oligarchy is part of. So, again, we're not even saying, hey, this is why the war is good. This is why there should be. This is what should be reported. And the fact that nothing is coming out again about the Iranian people, that no reporters are sneaking in, that we're not using some of these videotapes that get snuck out from cell phones. It's disgraceful. Mm-hmm. And we've talked before about Ukraine. I want to end it with Ukraine. There's some of the exact same things are happening in Ukraine. This last week, we've been on this for weeks. The Ukrainian press published this new leaked recordings of Timur Mindich, that's the guy on the left, lobbying top officials in the apartment he shares with Zelensky. We've all seen the gold toilet. Apparently, they go into the bathroom, which was also bugged, to do a lot of their conversations. And Mindich, the other guy who's implicated is Umarov, the defense minister.
Yes.
And now the Secretary of Ukraine's National Security, and they were discussing how kickbacks from defense contracts, which include drones and bulletproof vests, personnel changes, and the possible sale of Firepoint, which I believe is their drone company, private drone company.
And you know who is on the board of Firepoint? Our good friend Mike Pompeo.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm sure he probably was involved in some of that profiteering also. And so the recordings will come out. The analysts who have looked at them, so far nothing, there's no implications on Zelensky, even though Mindich is talking to Zelensky and multiple conversations. Also, Zelensky's wife is involved. So, once again, you got to go to the source that's not being reported. And one of the most outspoken critics of Zelensky's regime is his former press secretary. And what she said is what everyone should take away from that, which is, my people are dying so that one person and his friends can become obscenely rich, stressing that the fighting is the only thing that provides Zelensky with money and helps him stay in power, which makes sense of why he just marched around the Middle East saying, hey, do you need us to come help you? Do you need our equipment, our personnel? We're a military for hire. He has nothing else, which is insane. His job is to represent the Ukrainian people, take care of them, make decisions that are in the best interest of them. And that brings up the ramifications of the mainstream media cover-up and silence of Zelensky. Just last week, Zelensky submitted new legislation to once again extend the decree of martial law, which is part of a suite of wartime powers that include suspending elections, banning opposition parties, and shutting down all media organizations, which, if you watched, again, our last episode, that's the definition of both a totalitarian regime and a fascist. Both rolled into one. And why does Europe support that? Why is the EU so supportive? We've also talked about that. It's this money laundering thing. The $90 billion loan was just approved 2 weeks ago. Well, you're already seeing where that money's going to. And if you've got the Saab picture, you can show that, Todd.
Yeah, I do. Hold on.
So
by the way, it's instructive that the people who are funding the Ukraine war primarily and promoting it, the European globalist capitals, are the same one putting down censorship across their economies and cultures. So
right, the EU just outlawed last week, or is about to outlaw VPNs in Europe.
Yes.
So exactly, great. I'm glad you brought that up. And you know, the Saab CEO, I won't pick on Saab, but, you know, or anything. They just happen to have this article, and the CEO's words are crazy. He says the deal on the purchase of 150 Gripen fighters for Ukraine will be concluded within a few months. He explains with this confidence by the allocation of the 90 billion euro loan to Ukraine by the European Union. And Johansson, the CEO, stated that this funding will enable the deal to be concluded within a few months. So, you know, they're not even hiding that the reason the deal will go through is the loan. It's happening that quickly. As soon as the loan was approved, all these deals went through, and the money comes right back to the European military industrial.
And why are they buying, you know, I guess it's Ukraine, but that's a high threat environment. Why are they buying fourth generation fighters, which are highly vulnerable on that flight?
Great question. Yeah. Well, it might have been part of the deal.
Yeah.
Maybe when they said they'll approve it as long as it's the same way the military industrial complex used to work in the U.S. Senators and congressmen from various states voted for weapon systems that made no sense because part of that weapon system was going to be manufactured in their state and be attached to money coming in and jobs and the like. So, you know, the final thing on Ukraine is what's happening on the ground. Same thing. We always show the TCC. I don't know if you have any of those, Todd.
Yeah, I do. Hold on. You're talking about the videos. Yes, hold on. I have those.
Yeah.
Here is one. Let me just bring this up. This is a mobilization event that happened in the last few days where they are actually shooting at Ukrainians trying to stop the mobilization. Okay, that's one, and here's another, which is also informative because it is people stopping. The passers-by are now getting involved. So this is an abduction by the bounty hunters, and the cars stop, and a crowd forms and forces him to get free.
Which is bravery in the highest form. And it shows you how deeply committed the people of Ukraine are to wanting to end this war and to
So he gets away and runs away.
It's outstanding. Look at all those people.
Yeah, it is good. It is good to watch. Yeah, it is.
It is, and it's informative because it's empirical example that this war does not make sense to anyone, much less the most important people on the planet, in this case, the citizens of Ukraine. And these are not ethnic Russians. These are ethnic Ukrainians. And the messaging, the purpose of the war does not make sense to them. They know what's happening, but you don't see that. There's no free media in Ukraine. There's no global mainstream media reporters who report openly in Ukraine, or you'd see this every night like Todd and I do, because there's literally hundreds of these cell phone recordings, because that's the only way they can they can police up these people and replenish their front lines.
Which is why Europe wants to shut down social media and access to, being able to put those kind of videos out, because media has changed. So
yeah, they're complicit. So, just to conclude, some of us may someday forgive the corporate media for the divisiveness they've manufactured, the lawlessness and unnecessary deaths they've contributed to, and of course, the monumental betrayal of trust that we, the people, bestowed upon them. But none of us should ever forget it. We've now seen it with our own eyes and heard it with our own ears and felt it in our hearts and our souls. And thanks to all the lies from what we've already mentioned, the Russia hoax, the scamdemic, the fake facts, the stolen election, we don't need any more examples to learn this as a species. So what's the lesson? Do not listen to the global MSN or these professional news readers. Maintain a healthy air of skepticism on everything you hear, including what you hear from us. Seek out alternative sources. Apply the make sense test to everything you see and hear. Those recruitment videos are a great way to do that. That does not make sense that the people of Ukraine support the war.
Yeah.
And of course, one of the best ways to pressure test the sense we make is what we do right here at CDM. We say it out loud to ourselves and others that we trust, because the more senses you involve, the more sense you can make. And with that, Todd, I turn it back over to you.
Completely agree. I just want to highlight for people who may be watching, who want more information on the hantavirus outbreak, in air quotes. We have been and will be going forward very active in reporting on this. You can go to CDM. This is on our main site, cdm.press, but this is from our Connecticut paper, hantavirus and psychological bioterrorism. And then there is also this one on the main site. Is hantavirus a bioweapon? Likely yes. So anyway, and that's a whole other story, Pete, how they geoengineered, or what do you call it?
Bioengineered.
Well, where they gain of function.
Oh, gain of function.
They made it more transmissible between humans. And another part of that is all those biolabs in Ukraine. That's where they were testing a lot of this gain of function on Georgian soldiers and Ukrainian soldiers back 10 years ago. And we reported on that. So there's more down that rabbit hole that may come out. Anyway, thank you, Pete. Anything else?
Nope, that's all I got, Todd.
All right, we'll have this out soon. And thank you for joining us here on Ukraine SitRep. Talk again. Well, I hope you enjoyed the show today. We'll be back with you tomorrow, 10 to noon, Monday through Friday Eastern on the SCIF. A lot more coming from the Pacific, and we'll have some great guests. There's so much info dropping. I've got some really good stuff to bring you tomorrow. So stay with us. You're going to be shocked. Anyway, thanks for joining us today on the SCIF. Check us out on cdm.press on a daily basis. Put us in your scan. Check out and subscribe to our YouTube, CDM1 on Rumble, and CDM_press on X. Please tell people about the show. Spread the links. We'll be back tomorrow at 10. Thank you. See you then.